think it was the Grinch who said, maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Perhaps Christmas means just a little bit more. I think that can be said about great fundraising events. Maybe great fundraising events don't come from another book or another website or store. Maybe a great fundraising event means something just a little bit more. If I didn't tell you already, my name is Kevin Rudder. I'm a professional fundraising auctioneer and consultant, and I'm here to share with you tips, tricks, and strategies, real-world knowledge, real-world experience to dominate at your next fundraising event. Great Christmas movies don't just happen, right? They're planned, they're created, there's a great story to be told, and great Christmas movies have two awesome elements, just like great fundraising events for nonprofits, schools, and charities. And that is, there's a crisis that is about to happen, a need that must be met, and then there's an opportunity for people to come together and be the heroes, the stars of that movie or that great fundraising event. And you'll see that in the next several Christmas movies that I'm about to tell you to watch this season, and radically think differently about your next fundraising event to tell your story in the same dynamic way. Take, for example, the great Christmas movie done by Charles Dickens. It's A Christmas Carol with the character Scrooge. This guy who's about ready to be banished to torment in the gates of hell if his life isn't changed. And then who couldn't forget his amazing employee, Bob Cratchit, and his beloved son, Tiny Tim, whose health is failing, and if his need isn't met, he's going to die. But then, in this crisis, becomes a moment of change, and these characters show up, spirits if you will. Scrooge's life becomes radically changed by these people, so much so that he changes his entire life from them. And guess what? Tiny Tim's life is saved as well. Take a look at the whimsical character and comedy of Elf. You know the character, Buddy the Elf, who goes and seeks to find his dad and finally finds him in Manhattan, but at some point thinks the world doesn't love him anymore, and so he runs away. And the one person that he cares so much about beyond his dad is Santa Claus, whose clausometer drops to 0 at the end of the movie and the sleigh can't fly. But Buddy then rises to the occasion, and his family and his friends band together and start singing Christmas carols, and all of New York City starts to believe in Santa Claus once more, and Christmas is saved. How about Miracle on 34th Street, the old Christmas classic? There's a lonely old man who becomes the greatest Santa Claus a department store, Macy's, has ever seen. And he's loved by everyone until they start to learn that this man, his name is Chris. And not just any Chris, but Kris Kringle, AKA Santa Claus. He believes himself as the real Santa Claus. And everyone starts to wonder, maybe he is the real Santa Claus. And to one point, he has to go to court to defend himself as the real Santa Claus. And then the newspapers get involved. And the world in this story is now watching. And then comes the amazing. All the Santa Claus letters come. Thousands and thousands, letter after letter, is dumped right there. And the judge then has to decide, is he the real Santa Claus? Well, guess what? Case dismissed. This is the real Santa Claus, and Santa is saved. If you have not found a resemblance in the last 3 movies that I just shared with a great story to be told at your next fundraising event, look no further than It's a Wonderful Life. With George Bailey, played by Jimmy Stewart, and Donna Reed plays Mary, his wife. And George wants something that many people want, and that is to go to school and then conquer the world and make something of himself. But then he's stuck in this one-horse town that he thought he hated, in his family's small business, so busy, wrapped up in helping everyone else, that he doesn't help himself. And at the end of this movie, he gets himself into such a jam that the IRS is ready to send him to jail. And at this point, George has had enough and is about ready to do the most unthinkable thing he could do with his life. When his wife, Mary, does the greatest ask, the greatest fund in need, the greatest appeal that the world has ever seen at any fundraising event, and that is she calls up all of George's friends and says, George is in trouble. And if this need is not met, George is going to go to jail. Well, hand after hand, like a great appeal at a fundraising auction, bid card after bid card, in this case it's person after person, show up at George's house. And a big basket is on display, and money is dropped in, and then George's brother sees all the money that was raised, and the goal is met, and then says to my brother George, the richest man in town. Wow, what could we learn at your fundraising event about these stories? What story needs to be told? What crisis must be met or else? How can we better share your story like these Christmas movies? I challenge you this year to watch these movies and think about your George Bailey moment at your next fundraiser. And by the way, if you need help sharing your story and a story to be told, or you need help at your next fundraising ask or appeal or live auction, don't hesitate to give me a call. My name and number is on the screen. I'd also like you to type in the comments below on this video and tell us what's your favorite Christmas movie, or what do you think the best movie is that has the greatest story to be told that every nonprofit could learn from. Click that subscribe, click that like, and you know what? I think it was Tiny Tim said, a Merry Christmas to us all. God bless us, everyone.